Yeah, I like sometimes on the bigger name stocks a flat open. It'll give you a chance to get reactive. I guess the market condition will also come into play. Well, let's take a look here. So yesterday, you know what? And this has been happening, right? A little bit in the market. Yesterday, the gap got faded. We looked like we were hanging, and then it was just fade city. And yesterday was a trend day. One thing we have to be careful of, and I think just going back because I was a little bit late to the party, when you get like these kind of power candles coming down, when you get these kind of power candles coming down where you just like you fade off so much gain so quick versus like kind of like a bleed, you have to be aware of like a full blown kind of market dump. Because the volatility, see like the size of the candles and stuff in the QQQs, you just had like a huge move, and that should have given us probably a little bit of a clue, like that. Even if you start to get a pop, like it's going to end up fading off because we ended up getting like just a full blown. I mean, this was a full. You only get maybe like an easy one, right, where it's like lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, and you're just writing down your EMAs. I mean, you get that in the general market, at least on the downside, like once a month. So, we do have to do a little bit better job. We were playing around a little bit, but getting really aggressive, especially when you start to see this kind of action right there. That's where you really want to put the wood down on, stuff. And going back through yesterday, I was like, what the fuck? Like, this should have been like, this should be the best day of the month, if done properly. So just something to kind of be aware of when you're when we're looking at the markets, and obviously we're always kind of playing this TQQ anyways. The range on it was 20 points, right? So you're really going to have a chance to have a really good day. So I think that was something to kind of just be mindful of. Now on the other side of things, we ran into resistance yesterday, and we had basically a full-blown reversal, right? So if you're looking like this is the Qs, it looked like we were going to have like kind of another green day here, and then into resistance, and we tapped into, but we just had a full-blown reversal. Now, whether that's just a technical thing or something else, you don't know till you know. But we're in a very, very interesting sweet spot in the market. And the reason we're in a sweet spot of the market is that the price action, but the chart are showing, some confliction. So when you're like trending up like this, there's no confliction, right? Like you're just trending, so there's not really anything to read on the market. Now, like we have two different things that we have to be aware of is that yesterday, this dump in the market, that has to be respected and it has to be accounted for. But we also have like a huge amount of support underneath, right? We have our 50 SMA here, which is usually like your first test of the 50 SMA in any trend. It's 90% of the time like it holds. All right. So like we've got to we've got two different things that, we've just got to be aware of is that we've got big support, but then the price action yesterday was nasty. Like if this 50 SMA wasn't there, right, and we were just reading off yesterday's action, we would say like today we are shorting everything because like this is a what's the technical analyst term for a bearish engulfing candle, right? And you get like that monster cock red candle over there. Now today is gonna be frankly tricky. If you're like just like new and you're kind of like what the fuck, like if choppy markets don't work for you. Some of you guys probably know like anytime the market starts to range or is choppy, you you try to buy high and then it dumps down and then you try to short low and it pops back up and you're like get all mismatched, but the market didn't really go anywhere. That's essentially a choppy market. If you don't trade that type of market well, then this is probably a good day to just kind of sit around because we have some supports here, but the action is probably going to be choppy today. My gut feeling, especially for these guys just new joining the chat room, my gut feeling, we will be like long short, like 3-4 times today. So there's going to be like either you have to be nimble or you have to be okay just taking a bunch of small losses while we hunt for like a bigger trade, or you just sit around and watch the rest of us chop our balls off like degenerates. I have, gut feeling that's probably going to happen today. So, with the gap up in the market, I'm leaning towards probably a fade for the green to red, just based on the pre-market action and yesterday's action. But then, the real question is, like, do we hold at yesterday's lows or not? If we hold at yesterday's lows, then, we'll probably flip this thing back long, because we do have, the 50 SMA under. So if you don't want to be long, short, and, like, just trade, like, you see, like, sometimes when I'm trading the chat room, it's like in, out. Like, I'm going to move really fast. If you can't move that fast, then wait it out till the trend sets, and then, like, just once that trend sets, like yesterday, like, if you notice yesterday, you're right, the action was a little bit choppy. It was bullish, but it was right, like, just pretty much flat for till 11 o'clock. And then the trend set. And then it was much more clear, like, what to do for the rest of the day. So that's where, probably, like, if you're like, oh shit, I don't do well in, like, a little bit of a choppy market, that's what you want to do. Like, wait till 10:30, 11, let that trend set, and then you're going to have yourself really a much cleaner day. And I am noticing, like, just going through, like, everybody's trader views and trader syncs, like, grading everybody's trades. Most people, like, of at least the last couple weeks, a lot of people are getting, like, all their losses are happening, like, in that first 30 minutes, as it's like, we're really trained to see things really bullish, and then things have been turning bearish. And sometimes what happens is you get yourself chopped out of the day, then the big move happens, and you're like, fuck, like, I missed it. So just something to just kind of be mindful of when you're trading today. If you can't move fast, you don't got spirit fingers, right? Then just chill out for a sec. It'll set around 10:30, 12 maybe. If I could turn back time, if I could find a way. Alright, so now let's take a look at the general watch list. There's some okay news plays today. I think the main one that we'll have to watch today is this Peloton. They had blowout earnings, which is probably to be expected. Everybody's sitting at home, right? Like, even myself, I don't have much space over here. Like, I got in one of the rooms downstairs in the basement, it's like I got sauna, rowing machine. I've been just adding stuff to it because, like, when the coronavirus was happening. So Peloton's just got blowout earnings now. How anybody's got money for $3,000 bikes is beyond me. But they're buying them. The earnings were, they blew them out of the water. Essentially, everything was double what they thought it was going to be, which is always a good read. I think this is going to be in play today. You got 11% gap. The last time Peloton had earnings, FYI, if we go back to last time it had earnings, one thing to always kind of just do when you think about, like, stocks that are, like, busting loose on earnings, the last time Peloton had earnings, which was, like, down in the 40s, it gapped up, and then it grinded down at the open for a little bit. And then it started to ramp, like, a little bit later. That's why you see this tail here. So what that tail usually indicates is, right, like, you gap up, and then it grinded down for a period of time, and then it ramped up later. So just something to kind of keep mind of, that this was the action of the previous earnings. When you're, like, playing stocks that have news out or earnings out, you should always look back at the last day it had earnings or the last day it had a big gap, and think, like, okay, what was the reaction? How does it move? Like, how does it really react to stuff? Every stock has its own flavor. Every stock has its own personality. You probably see, like, there's days, like, right, where Tesla will act like bipolar and this stock will act normal, and vice versa. So just be mindful. We may need a little bit of a pull on Peloton, and then if it starts to grind, watch that 920 EMAs on the 5-minute chart. Don't try to probably do it on a 1-minute chart unless you're really in for some pain. Go for the bigger move. Watch and see how it reacts around there. If it holds, you get 1 or 2 green candles to hold, take it back up into the highs, and we'll see what's up. It has come a long way, but super stocks. One thing to always know about super stocks. What are super stocks? Super stocks are stocks that are usually new companies that have a series of catalysts, some type of theme. So the theme of this year in the market has been like work from home stuff, or things that help people work from home, right? So that's like, or anything that has to do with home. So if you see like Wayfair, restoration hardware, home, price of lumber, home, Peloton, home, right? Like Zoom, right? Home, DocuSign, things that like allow people to just sit around on their butts and not go to work. That's been like a big theme. So even though this thing is up like 5x over the course of the year, when you get yourself a super stock that's like a new company with big volume, with a ton of catalyst, they can go a 10 bagger sometimes during the year, sometimes a 20 bagger over the course of like 2 years. So don't worry, so much that it about the price of it. When you start busting loose on earnings, usually the sky is the limit in terms of how these things will react. So let's let this thing pull back and we'll be good to go. Did anybody see any other interesting earnings plays? I did not. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see on the downside here real quick. Junk. ITCI, this thing's a turd. Oh, it's an offering. All right, so when you see like a gap down, but it's an offering, it's no good. STSA, this thing's probably a turd too. Nikola's gapping down. Look, Nikola was just $32 before the GM news came out. There's there's a good shot that it's going to do something similar. It could just bleed out. Did anybody see the CEO of Nikola's Instagram video in the morning or yesterday night? He's like, first of all, he's got fantastic hair, so I can't hate on him. And he's also got like a $20 billion company that doesn't really have any products yet, and which is that's a fucking cool ass grift. And I'm a big fan of like people that can pull off like amazing grifts with minimal skill. That's an amazing thing. But that video is amazing. He's like, of course there's going to be hit pieces out of me. He's like, I'm changing the world. Anytime a guy that makes designs on cards, I don't even make any cards, right? He says, I'm changing the world. You better be afraid. He said, yes, they said this about me. They said this about me. They said this about me. But of course they're going to say that. I'm changing the world. God bless America. You can do anything in this country if you just got a good set of hair, a kind smile, and you know how to sell. You can get away and do anything. For you youngsters out there, learn how to sell. I think this thing's going to be still a short today on all pops, all squeezes. Expect some type of news pieces out at some point, from the company, some kind of PR, maybe even something from General Motors saying, hey, they did some due diligence. Remember that just because General Motors made an investment in the company doesn't really mean anything. I mean, General Motors has been a dead company for 30 years? They were the biggest company in the world in 1975. They've been going down every single year since then. So, it's not like they got a fucking set of geniuses working over there, right? So I wouldn't read too much into the GM investment in this. So I think this thing is still a short. Hey, Shirut, you can email me. I'll help you out. I think down to 32. Now let's take a look at just some of the good plays that are strong. Any dips on Penn? Any dips today? If the market rolls over, watch like the 60 spot. Any dips on Penn? There's two areas I'm watching for today. Two areas I'm watching. These are just for a day trade. The swing trade, right? The multi-day trade is over on Penn, right? So this is just a day trading environment. Two dips I'm watching Penn. If it holds at the bottom of the breakout bar from yesterday, that's a 15-minute chart. If it holds at 61, if it dips down at the open, that would be pretty hot. We may get a long on that. If the market gets gnarly, then 59. One thing you'll notice when Penn starts a trend, like any kind of big dips on it intraday, they almost always get bought up. So you want to see that thing, right? Start to round, start to marinate and matriculate, and you'll start to see once it starts to hold, it'll go. So what I mean by that, what does that mean? Round, right? For anybody that is not trading full time. What I mean is this will often happen on something like a Penn. So you see how you shred it off at the open, and then you just started to meander down. So it pulled back $4 at the open, right? And it came back down to kind of the bottom of the breakout bar. And then it's holding at its EMAs, and then you start to see it grind its way back, right? And then it pulls back in the VWAP and grinds back, way back. So any kind of those kind of big dips on Penn, like kind of nice $4, $3, $4, $5 pullbacks. Start to see how it reacts around support. Once it starts to hold, right, and make sure like your MAs are starting to curl its way back up, that'll tell you that the trend is changing. Then you want to come back and take that thing for a long. Same thing, right? Like Donkey Kong, right? It had a nice. Both of these stocks do this all the time. Like you'll have a shred, and then they pull back deeper than you want, and they'll come back down into the bottom of the breakout bar, and then they'll start to kind of marinate, and you'll start to get it picked up. So like that's what we want to see. Both of these names are in play. I mean, both of them are all-time highs. They're at breakout. We want to be playing them. There's only a handful of really, really strong stocks right now that are at breakout that weren't crushed in this last market pullback. So I think Penn, Donkey Kong, both of those are top of the list. What do you need?
Looking for a little bit more coffee.
Oh, yeah. In the silver pot. In that silver pot, buddy.
Just a little bit, that's it.
Yeah, I think those two are going to be the phase for today. Let's watch this RH for day 2. RH had its earnings out yesterday. It didn't have much of a reaction, but often day 2 after the earnings will be a cleaner play. Watch it, see how this thing, if it holds 380 and you start to work your way back, only if it holds 380, I think this one's going to have a chance to kind of get going. Like we definitely want to keep an eye on that. Oh, hold on here. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about Groupon so far. Dun, 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 dun. That's the one I was looking for. BYND. This thing was cooking and booking yesterday. Cooking and booking. 139, 148, pull back 143. So the range on this was sick. I don't know what's happening with this company. It's finally come out of range. Now, it is up a few days in a row, which I don't like usually. But I think you can still hit this one on dips. You're starting to come out of range here. As long as it kind of holds, this kind of 140, 142, 140, 142 range, like this one is going to be tradable back and forth. And frankly, if it gets really extended, we'll get a short on it. The one thing you want to always kind of be mindful, like when you're going through your scans, like what are the stocks that have the biggest range? Like percentage gain doesn't matter because you can have like a $1 stock and it could, move 30 cents and it'll say 30% gain, but there's no range there, right? It's hard to trade back and forth within 30 cents. This thing had a $10 range back and forth. So, you always want to think, okay, first shred, $10. Then where did it dip? Where did it go? $6. And then fade, $10. So you had a total of like 28 total dollars that it moves back and forth. So if you're like a day trader and you want to be able to kind of get into a stock and trade the ebbs and flows based on the patterns, right? So what do we trade? We trade breakouts, we trade VWAP bounces, so on and so forth, double tops, a million different patterns, right? So does it follow the patterns that we use? And then what are the ranges that are kind of marinating around there? And, if you're going to move around $20+ in a day back and forth, then that's a stock that that's a stock that we need to have on our list. We want to have our list. Because even if you got a small account and you're just kind of trading like 100 shares back and forth, you still make a lot of money doing it. Beaky is a decent looking stock, but it already broke yesterday's range. So, see how it holds here. Now you kind of testing it back. It is on kind of day 3 of the move, so just be careful. This is a hot stock, though. Like, I would definitely keep this on the list for a little bit. Like, I like this name a lot. I think probably as long as the market holds up, this one breaks out. Even NNOX is another, still holding up. This one we can't trade anymore. Like, it's already started. It's too extended. But if it comes back into the 40s, I think we'll be good. Hey, Armand, ITCI had an offering today, so I would leave that alone. OSTK, this is another tricky one because it faded back a big chunk of this. I think today's gonna be a shit show. Today's gonna be a shit show. Not every day is meant to be easy day to trade. Obviously, we're gonna make some money today, but it's not gonna be easy. Remember what we're saying, like the price action is weak, but the long term, the support is strong. So we're a tweener, and a tweener is tough. When the short term tells you short, but the long term tells you long, right? You're not crossed up. The best trades always, the reason everybody in pure bull markets, the stupidest people will make the most money. Always remember that. The reason that professional traders survive is that when the market gets sideways or tougher, they're still making money. But in a pure bull market, like when you're getting this, the stupidest people will make the most money. Because, right, they'll get on and they'll just buy whatever's hot and then just hold it, right? Because the market goes up every day. And that's good. That's more power to them. We need that, right? And then when the market starts to shift, it becomes a much more of a stock picker's market. There's an ebb and flow. So short term is down, long term is up. We've got our lines crisscrossed. The easiest market is when everything aligns, where, right, your long term and short term trends are higher, then you know exactly what to do. Today we're going to be long, short, long, short. A lot of times, this is what we call an inside day. An inside day is when you get a big range the previous day and you're stuck inside it. It can be very tricky to trade. So what are the things that you can do on an inside day? Number one, you stick with stocks that have news out. Stocks that have news out like Peloton or Chewy, those are going to be stocks that have earnings out. They got a fundamental catalyst out today. So they're going to move around irregardless to what's happening in the market. So even though the market's giving us conflicting signals, this stock has its own problems or its own news, its own good stuff happening. So it's going to move around and do what it's going to do. You know, Chewy's another one that's got earnings out today. Not much of a reaction yet, but I would keep both of those on the list. You know, those are only two earnings plays I'm really interested in. Wait for the trend to set on Chewy because we're not getting much of a gap. And be careful today. Majority of wipeout days in my career have always been on fucking Friday. Always on Friday. Friday is like the deacon of death. I had a time like when we were running this chat room where I had to take Fridays off. I'd like make money like 4 days and then Friday I just do something stupid every time. Friday's always been known to be a little bit choppy. I think we'll be okay today. Just be mindful. If you're brand new in our chat room, we're going to be long short a couple times. It's going to be quick. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fast. You know how we got to do it. Grudge is a turn. But let me see. I actually didn't look at it. I apologize. Grudge is stuck under all this. Grudge is basically, at this point, it's going to need a PR. You know, what's happening is, you know, you got the hit piece put out. Now the sellers and buyers are reaching an equilibrium. The selling has dried up, but there's no buyers coming in yet. Look at how light the volume has been compared to its normal. So this is like your average, right? This is your average volume. So look at how small the candles are under it. Yeah, I think so, Brad. You know what? And it's always like that. You get lax. Everybody's standards get, why I usually used to stink back in the day of Fridays. Your standards get less. It also happens as you trade more during the day. If you ever notice, like when you're day trading and you make a bunch of money in the morning, say you make $3,000-$4,000 in the morning, you know, you tend to get like cocky or you get a little bit lax, and then you fade it off end of day. And it's the same way like when you're, you know, managing your trading week. You know, if you have a bunch of profits from Monday to Thursday, then Friday you get a little cocky and you get a little lax, and then, you know, you often can take, you know, losing. And what happens is when you start to lose a little bit, you know, instead of saying, hey, it was a good week, I lost $1,000, I'm just going to walk away, right? You're like, I got to get it back. And before you know it, you're just fucked. Brad, you know what? That's a good idea. I've got a student of mine that's like a drastic over trader, gives back money every day a little bit. I told him, tell your wife your P&L at the end of the day, you'll never lose again. So I think now Nicola is a short today. It's still on all bounces. Good. All right, that's our list. I'm sticking to it. Donkey Kong, DKNG, Penn, Peloton, Nicola. These are our focus lists. Good. And then, of course, you know, we'll be playing the indexes and stuff too. That's the list. I'm sticking to it. It's Friday. Try not to screw up. You know what happens on Friday? You screw up on Friday, you're going to be sulking all weekend. Your family going to look at you funny. Your kids will lose respect for you because you'll wear it on your face. They'll be like, Daddy, why are you scowling? And then you're going to say, because I traded some small cap stock on a Friday and I lost. It's just no good. We don't even want to get there. So be good. Make me proud. Let's have some fun. If I could turn